Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and hey, you can do this. Let's start with and by this, I mean this. Because this is MackEQ. So here's what we got. Here's the new plugin. I believe you can see it. This is the Mackie variant that I came up with for the purpose of acting like the classic tiny Mackie mixer, but with the EQ section included. So as you can see, I can turn this on and we can get in a more aggressive sound. But that's nothing to what I can get out of a breakbeat. My apologies, it's kind of a crazy breakbeat. And we'll also include a snare. Oh, sorry, we can't hear this very well, so we'll turn this on. And as you can hear, we can do all kinds of crazy things with the gain on this. Like you can hear, here's the breakbeat insanity. We can make it go bright. Or we can make it go dark. And of course, we can also do the same thing with, for instance, a hat. That's a lot of highs being thrown on there. And we can also distort it very nasty. But wait, there's more. Here we've got a bass and a chord. So what we can do with this is push it into the bass in such a way that if stuff happens in there, you'll notice that it's brightened up a lot. So if you start getting more gain in there, and the filter goes up, you get more of an edge on it compared to what it previously was. This is MackEQ, as you can see. chill that out for just a bit. If you even want to call that chilled out, which it kind of is not, but okay. Don't mind me playing with the toys. This is not recorded, this is just a bunch of live inputs from the synthesizers. All of this is just me fiddling with MackEQ on all these inputs, which I'll remind you, raw inputs sound like this. Which is a little closer to what you get out of a relatively normal digital mixer. So since we don't like that, freak it out completely. So, MackEQ is the most recent of some work I've been doing along the lines of getting drum and bass style stuff going, and you can, like, that's 118 beats per minute, so that's not really drum and bass music. But I've been working on getting the tones together, and Mackity was the first attempt at that. Now, the deal with MackEQ is I needed to throw in the high and low control in order to have it acting like the real device. I don't feel that I quite got it. This is kind of in the ballpark. You compare it to the real thing, and it's not exactly the same thing. But it has its own kind of vibe to it and is implemented in very simple ways. So the tones of the controls get a kind of sonority and intensity going on, which are not a million miles away from what the real unit does. So this is my best shot at it for the time being. I don't expect to get much farther because the fact is, doing what like your old Mackie 1202 does is actually quite difficult. The amount of gain on tap inside those things is completely outlandish. And when you're distorting them that intensely as the MackEQ is capable of doing, and also pushing the highs, it's real difficult to get a digital process to act that way. You can get it to get the tone relatively right, but be kind of synthetic sounding and not have a sense of reality. Or you can do what I've done, which is have a maybe not as dead on tone, but with a certain edge and presence to it that is more akin to what you get out of the actual box. I don't know. In any case, without beating it into the ground too much, because that's what the gain knob is for, MackEQ is a open source and free, because it's Patreon supported, plugin for AU, which is audio unit, and Mac, PC, and Linux VST, and also a signed audio unit for modern, like M1 based Macintoshes and more recent operating systems. And I'll be including that in there as well, because as of a little over a week or so ago, I have stuff building for Big Sur and for the M1 Macs, and they run native. And not all the DAWs are able to keep up. Sometimes if you're trying to run this stuff on a DAW that is not native, it can run into terrible problems. Because the thing is, the code to draw the interface for things, that's part of the DAW. So if it's not drawing the code for the interface or handling everything properly in native M1 processing, you can run into headaches with that stuff. But hopefully this will improve going forwards. In any case, I hope you like MackEQ. It is certainly potentially a bunch of fun to play with. And again, Mackity is the original version of that, which is only the trim, only the input gain. If you're running things like trying to get a full mix out of stuff and you want to put this on the 2-bus, I would recommend putting Mackity on the 2-bus instead, because that's only the one gain stage. This one is for when you want to throw it on the kick drum or something and then make really raunchy, nasty, distorted things out of them. And although it might not be exactly the same as a real, like your Mackie 8 bus or whatever, all the crazy patching you can get up to, it does its own thing, and you might find that you're able to do similar things with it. So hopefully that will be useful to somebody. Again, all this is Patreon supported. The Patreon has been going so well that now I am doing live streams of not only coding plugins on Mondays, but also soldering together DIY circuits on Wednesdays, because I had a goal to reach before I hit that, and I hit it. So we've got a new live streaming day. And so I've been very unprepared for that, but as of the last one, I coded together an oscillator and got all circuit bendy with it. So generally, it's the same thing with the coding and the wiring together electronic circuits. It's hours of slow tedium, and then the final bit, the final half an hour or so, when I start really working out with the thing, that's when stuff goes crazy. And that is what happened on last Wednesday with the circuit design thing. It was ages to get anything even working, but once I started getting it working, it made some really gnarly noises. I'll be continuing in that vein. So on that note, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.